What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla and the overall market. I'm also going to break down this information on Tesla stock and how things are looking, in my personal opinion. But before I begin the devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100, you're guaranteed 7 free stocks, and the offer ends in just about 11 days from now. Anyways, I'm looking at Tesla. We got a very, very nice looking inverse head and shoulders like structure that's developed. And Tesla got this nice little breakout after getting 2 days of consolidation. So after getting this breakout, Tesla pushed up to this 180 resistance. But I mentioned to everyone that Tesla might not hold this level because the news wasn't really that insane. And the price actually didn't look as strong to me. I thought that we might actually just kind of continue to trade around 178. And if you look at this, we did go 2 points above it to almost 180. Then we went 2 points below it to 176 and then back up to it right now. So that was pretty accurate. We are actually trading around the 178 area, just 2 points above, 2 points below, back and forth price action. So the question is, what's gonna happen to Tesla from here? What do I think is gonna pan out? I'll talk about that in just a minute. I first want to talk about some news. So there's some news coming out that Baidu and many other Chinese companies are considering using Tesla's robotaxi technology in China. That's going to be very, very useful. That's going to be a useful thing for their own service offerings. So that could be very, very huge for not only Tesla, but also for other companies like this. And then on top of this, there's also a lot of news talking about how Tesla was open to kind of licensing, the FSD technology after developing more data centers in China. That could be a lot more useful for them. Once again, this would make Tesla not only a lot more money, but help develop the technology quicker. And then with robotaxis potentially becoming, a real thing over the next few years, however long it takes, whether it takes another decade or so, it doesn't matter. It's still very bullish for the long term for Tesla because this is a massive business, and many different businesses such as Baidu will incorporate this technology. So by opening the doors for China and also the USA, this is a massive, massive market for billions of people, and that is once again more bullish news for the long term for Tesla. Tesla also drops the whole Steam gaming support inside of its vehicles, so that's very important. It's been telling the new Model S and Model X buyers that they won't have access to Steam gaming inside their vehicles for now, even though they have been investing heavily into this. So that's actually giving Tesla some criticism for now. But other vehicles are still going to be incorporating the Steam beta native app in the new Model S's and the Model X's. And despite dropping this feature, despite them kind of like talking about that in the past, they're going to be updating gaming in the computer in different ways. So they might have other entertainment and app functionalities. They're going to be very, very unaffected. So we'll see what's happening with them moving forward. But as of right now, Tesla is updating the gaming computer in the Model X. And right now, they're not capable of playing Steam games for now. Could this change in the future? Yes, it could. But for now, it doesn't really kind of change, at least moving forward. So we'll see what happens for the short term. For the long term, yes, this could still change. So we'll see how it goes. Moving forward for Tesla, for the rest of the day, we might just kind of trade sideways in this area, very close to 178. But with this inverse head and shoulders, there is still potential next week for a little bit of a push higher before we continue. So there is still upside potential in this chart, especially looking at next week. But for the shorter term, for the rest of the day today, we might just continue to trade sideways and shuffle as there's not really a whole lot going on. For SPY, it's the same thing essentially. SPY is trading very sideways, and the reason for this is because they're really hurting those short-dated options. So people who are holding short-term options are kind of feeling pain right now. We're just trading sideways for the most part. We did pop a little bit, and then we ended up getting this dip all the way down to the 527 area. We didn't reach our key support at 526.5 because I think it's because of manipulation. They're just trying to manipulate the stocks right now, and they're keeping it within a very, very tight range and making things a lot more difficult for retail. So I think that that's what's going on right now for SPY. It's going to continue to just chop until we close in about 20 minutes. But going into next week, it is possible we get one more push higher to fill this imbalance. Then we continue back down lower. But let me make it very clear that the trend is still very clear. There's no sign that SPY is still breaking all-time highs again and again for now. Right now, it kind of looks like this, where we made this. We had a high, we made a new low, made a lower high, and then we bring a lower low. Will we break out again like this and then reject for next week? That's a strong possibility. But if we do try to rebound like this, we could also push a little bit higher and then get the rejection. To be bullish on SPY, you want to see it kind of break the all-time high like this, and then we're back to bullish. But we haven't really done that yet, and this is a little bit more probable that we kind of like pop a bit then drop. We had this little wick right here, which is acting as another liquidity grab. So there could be more manipulation going into next week. So we'll be watching for another pop and drop like move as time progresses, at least for the time being. But for now, just know that SPY is going to likely chop for the rest of the day today, and then we'll see what happens next week. For Nvidia, Nvidia is looking more bearish. We're continuing to fall. I called in my video that we might actually retest 950 then reject. That's almost what ended up happening. I was looking at 930 as a potential target. We actually went even lower down to about 925 and 920. So watch resistance at 930. Watch support at 925. If we lose this, we're going to be looking at 920. I think that there's a risk of us coming down to fill this wick. So we could be dipping into the lower 920s. And there is a risk of downside in my personal opinion. For the QQQ, in my opinion, is also in a very, very similar place. We have this resistance right here at our 452 area. We have support at 450. And if we lose this, we'll be looking at 449. We had this high here. We came down, made a lower high, came down. And we'll be watching to see how things end up going from here. With this nice little wick right here, we actually rebounded just a little bit. So we're going to be looking for a retest of this resistance. Could go a little higher, but I still think that the trend on the QQQ is still looking a bit more bearish. This kind of looks like an inverse cup and handle, and we're still looking a little weak here. So I think that what's happening is we're going to establish a temporary top up here. We're going to come down like this, continue this trend, and then we'll watch and see if we get a temporary rebound like this for now before we continue to fall and maybe even drop to new lows. That's also another possibility for the QQQ, something like that. So I'll be watching that very, very carefully at these key levels, and I'll break down more specific details about this later on. But just know that the trend is still a bit more bearish for the markets. We are starting to dip a bit. Is it going to be forever? Not necessarily, but for now, that's what I'm seeing. And then for Apple, we're just completely stuck range bound. We have 190.5 as resistance, 189 as our support. It's been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, pretty much for the last 3 days. There's nothing really special going on with Apple for now. So we'll just wait and see if this thing tops and which way we end up breaking. For Amazon, we pushed to about 185 as resistance. We have 183 as support. We've been going back and forth, but we could actually dip closer to the 183s again. For Coinbase pushed to about 210 as resistance, came just short of 211. Now we're back to 207. We're just kind of trading sideways, not really doing a whole lot. So we'll watch and see which way we end up breaking. We might just continue in that range. And Meta is also completely range bound, very boring. We have resistance at 472. We have support at 468. Back and forth all day. There's not really much going on with this. For people interested in Supermicro, we did mention that it might test 900. If we lost, I'd look for the 880 area. We did get a dip on it. So that is what we predicted, and that is what's happening so far, all the way down to 880. For GameStop, we have potential to dip all the way down to fill our gap in the 17 area. So GameStop looks a bit more bearish to me, and we'll see if we get a bounce after that. AMC is the same thing, going to be looking for a push all the way down towards the lower fours. 4 flat is a real possibility before it tries to bounce. I'll be watching for that as well. Meta is actually testing 420. We've been stuck between 420 and 418 all day, so we're just kind of shuffling. So we'll see which way we break. But I think it's just going to trade sideways. Same thing with Google, all just sideways price action on big tech. I'm sorry, Google is actually bullish overall. It's actually holding up a lot better. So everything is sideways except for Google. Google is trying to push all the way up towards 177.5 is our resistance for Google / Alphabet. We have support at 176. I think that we could retrace to retest 176 and then try to continue higher. But this is actually very bullish compared to the market. So Google is showing some life, despite the fact that the other stocks out there are showing some weakness. One last thing is the VIX lost 12.4. It's the first time this whole year we actually lost that support. VIX is looking kind of weak right here, but we'll see if we get a bounce or not. But historically, when we are below 12, the VIX does love to bounce. So we'll watch and see what the VIX does. But just know that this is the first time this happened this entire year. It is an anomaly. So it's something else worth noting. Bitcoin's also pushing to that 67,000 area. It's still kind of shuffling up here. So it might continue to push a little higher. Could be looking for 67,500 again. But for now, that's all I'm seeing for the time being. All right. So that is it for the video. Thank you all so much for listening. Tesla's going to likely continue to shuffle for the rest of the day, but it does have a little bit more upside potential for next week, and we'll see how things go from here. With that being said, I really appreciate every single one of you so much for watching these videos. I'll be back in a couple of hours for another update. Thank you for listening, guys, and peace out.